because there's been you can't get here without having people that support you, that help you, that are your full support system. And I would like to dedicate this to my husband, not just because he's my husband, and it's just because the fact that it's very difficult to be married to someone like me. Because I can either make us completely rich or completely broke, because I take a lot of risk. And it takes someone that is grounded, that is secure in their own self, and fully understand what this means to you, and supports you regardless of how crazy you sound or how you don't even make sense most of the time. So because of that, I would like to dedicate this to my husband, Kunle Oladejo.
Before we get into this episode, I'd like you to hit the subscribe button and hit the bell notification so that you don't miss any future episodes. Hello everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Against All Odds. My name is Daniel Coker, your regular host, and our guest today is a very special person, and I actually can't believe that we actually finally gotten to meet today, because she's extremely busy traveling all over the world, doing very great things. But our guest today is Tommie Edwards. So Tommie Lola.
Yeah, so the full name is Tommie Lola.
Tommie Lola.
Yes.
Tommie Lola. Okay. So Tommie Edwards, and Tommie, you're welcome to our podcast today.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so a little bit about Tommie. So Tommie is an award-winning serial tech entrepreneur. She's a 3 times multi-million-dollar founder. She's founded more than three tech companies. And she's a co-founder and CEO of Tech 1M, which is a groundbreaking enterprise software for global workforce management, with a focus on automating borderless hiring and building distributed teams efficiently. And Tommie is on the cutting edge of driving the future of work. This is AI generated, isn't it?
It is. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll talk about that. We'll talk a bit more about that. Okay, she's also the founder and CEO of another company called Tedbury, which is a platform connecting top talents with innovative projects. And Tommie said influence extends as the UK president for the G20 Young Entrepreneur Alliance. She sits on multiple boards and is recognized as one of the top 100 most influential leaders in tech in the UK. So Tommie, so once again, you're welcome to our podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Tommie, quite interestingly, you started out in insurance. Okay, you've done so many different things, and today we're just going to try and understand how you've transitioned across different industries, and I know our viewers are sitting there looking at you, and you're very, I can tell you're a fashionista. You like your style, I can just tell, and you look very polished, very refined, but that belies a certain truth. And that truth, Tommie, and just from my own research that I've done ahead of this interview, is that you've hustled. You haven't gotten here with a silver spoon in your mouth.
Absolutely.
You've taken chances. You've basically created opportunities, and you're a go-getter. So Tommie, you started off first doing insurance, and then you decided to come to the UK at a point. So just tell us a bit about your journey.
Okay, so I think because I've said this in several podcasts, but to make this quick, the journey really started at 16.
Okay.
And so this is when my parents left me to handle a 14-man staff company.
Okay.
And I had to pretty much learn a whole lot of things quickly as at that point. And I think that was where I actually caught the entrepreneurial bug.
Okay.
And I got my very first, pretty much my very first business, I would say, and that was selling African textiles.
Okay.
But then, fast forward after a while, I found myself in the UK. But before even finding myself in the UK, I hustled to get to the UK.
I heard about that. That's an interesting story. So let's go into that.
I hustled to get to the UK because I remember going to my dad. My dad is like he pretty much is an engineer, but then he decided to go full-time into business, and it was the wrong decision. So we were having like some financial troubles and things back then. So I went to my dad and I'm like, okay, I want to go to the UK. And he just, when you're like, someone just practically almost laughed in your face. Like, how on earth do you expect me to find this money?
Yeah.
And this is where I was like, and I think this is where my resourcefulness, I look at everything around me and I'm like, what can I do? As at then, the next thing that came to my mind was pretty much doing hostess, just pretty much hosting different events, how do you call it, doing modeling jobs and stuff. So I spread the word, guys. I told all my friends, this is it. I have up to this particular time to make this payment to this school, and I need whatever auditions that are out there. So they just kept coming. But then the big break was when I got onto the cover of Limca, which Coca-Cola just bought.
Okay.
So a friend told a friend before it was happening. I auditioned and I got there. Then I realized I was on like 4 or 5 different billboards all at the same time.
Okay.
I was able to get those money, and then I hustled myself. And I told my dad I got the school fees. He was like, what? And I'm like, how did you get it? And I had to then tell him, see, I'm the calendar girl here. I'm on this billboard.
Were they okay with that?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Because they were like, actually, because then they're actually very, very decent modeling jobs that you'll be so proud to say that's my child on that billboard.
Okay. So not modeling as in modeling.
Well, I don't know what modeling is. But for me, this was like face modeling.
Okay.
So this is me. You could imagine modeling a drink. So you're just pretty much telling them how great this drink tastes, that kind of thing.
Right.
And so someone can see me and they could see my persona, and it feels like, oh, if she can have this drink, that drink must be good for me. The same thing with the soap. There's this they call it Dudos, is a black soap. Okay. So the soap, the whole point is it's just pretty girls, quite a few of us on there showing that, oh, you have great skin because you're using this soap. It's just those sort of things. But then there were financial incentives at the back of that, and I just took that, changed that, and used that to pay the school fees. And by the time I told my dad I've paid the fees, he's like, oh wow. Then he took me seriously. And then we hustled the whole thing in order for me to get the visa, and I found myself in the UK. So getting to the UK, the first job was not insurance. No.
Yeah, I heard about that.
It was cleaning toilets.
I know. Guys, you hear that? Cleaning toilets.
But then, like you said, you know yourself. I knew that wasn't for me. Like the second day, I'm like, what? No, I left the whole, nah. But then after like a week, I just kind of told my aunts that brought me into it, and I'm like, I can't do this. It's like, they're not going to pay you. I'm like, keep the money. I need my mental health here. And I didn't even know it was called mental health. It was just the fact that I knew if I do this one more time, I'm just going to break.
You're going to flip.
And I wasn't even good at it, so there was no point. So I just took a bus then, and I decided wherever this bus is sending, this is where my journey begins. And that was it. That bus, those buses, like they're like engraved. I should get a tattoo of those buses. So it's like bus 453. If you know that bus, it's a very, very long one. Not very long one. So I took it all the way, going to Baker Street, crossed the road, saw the sign. They were looking for an assistant. I got in there and I'm like, I want to be an assistant. They're like, where's your CV? I'm like, CV? I remember Easy Cafe on the way. I ran back there, did the CV, gave that to them. And so that was my first official CV. Because I've never had a CV. And then I gave that to them. Before I knew what was happening, I got the job. And so from getting the job, interacting with people, majority of the people doing that job, the job was really selling DVDs. So it was selling. So my very... sales job was selling DVDs. at Victoria, and then I was very engaging with the customers that were coming. It's so interesting what technology has done right now, because then they'll come into the store, wear the headset, try to feel the music before buying it, or they'll try to just see a clip of the video and I want this one. So I was always talking to them, why I'm fascinated by their choices. And then someone got in that day and the person was like, oh, so you sound very, like very, what do you call
educated.
it? Yeah, educated. You're very literate. You sound very well. What are you doing here? And I'm like, I'm a graduate. I studied insurance. And it's like, oh, my sister, something, before I know what's happening, I found myself at this insurance interview with AIG, and I got the job. So that's how I found myself in insurance. And then with insurance, you go there, it was just...
Was this insurance sales?
Yeah, insurance sales. And like the very first 2 months, I kind of got 3 awards straight away.
Wow.
And this was when I knew, girl, you could sell. One of it was like, the best newcomer, best salesperson of that month. And pretty much, and I can't remember what the third one was, but it was just 3 things at the same time. So, but then I realized that there was a strategy. Also, even that interview, during the induction of the interview, that was where I met my husband. But then we're just friends. So, but then it's just like, those are kind of like things that will stay with you forever, because things happen. Like I say, life, everything you do in life, everything is the dots. When the dots connect, you never know. And when they connect so powerfully. So for me, that time, I was just doing things as I felt. Or knowing that there was just basically creating my own path without even knowing that I was creating a path. But there was one thing, I was hungry for it. I was resilient. I couldn't take no for an answer. I don't understand why you can do something and I can't. It was just that determination.
I like that. I mean, hunger. Hunger. It's so important to have a certain degree of hunger, because hunger will make you wake up in the morning. Hunger will make you push yourself. Hunger will make you study and learn and get more informed. So that's very important. Hunger, you said, that resilience as well. It's
hunger, resilience, and the fact that I just knew, when you've seen different things, I was lucky enough to go to University of Lagos. I've seen, and even before University of Lagos, while going to primary school, I've seen people that their school, we go on school buses, and then their parents bring them with like a $6
limousine. And
I'm like, okay, like how can I get myself one? But then it's like, okay, all right, time will tell. All these are your parents' things. When it's time for you to get yours, you have to work hard and so I've always known that whatever thing you want, it's pretty much what you want is possible, but are you ready to pay the price? And I know that the price, without losing your integrity, without compromising on your values, the price is hard work. And hard work, understanding how to do things the right way, and always have this quest for knowledge. And provided you're knowledgeable, then it means you could do things smarter, faster, and you can actually understand a lot of things that some people are still trying to figure out. But because you're constantly curious, then you will figure that out. And always happy to say I don't understand, so I can understand it. And once I understand it, I can use that to my advantage. So that's kind of like been the playbook. Every, sitting back now and really thinking about it, because sometimes I could be very unassuming. And it's like, I'm just trying to understand what you... But then I understand a little bit, but I'm not putting all the cards on the table. But I understand a little bit. Because I feel like, yes, it's a little bit, but it's not that strong. Can I... If I keep talking, I won't hear what this person has to say. Who might help me fill in the gap in the knowledge I don't have. And with that, when I now know that I'm stronger, I can now pass that on to someone else. And gradually. So I feel like that's kind of like being the structure. But back to the whole career bit, it was just with the insurance, I started to see that people would say, when I get into their homes, you have to buy because I've done my study on you. So it's like
so you've done your homework.
I've done my homework. I've spoken to you on the phone.
You pre-qualified them.
Pre-qualified you, and I told you you can't. I'm not there to talk to the wife without the husband, or the husband without the wife, because I know this is a decision that both.
A joint decision, yes,
and we rather risk. And then if I go in for one reason or the other, you're not buying, then you have to give me 10 names. So it was that so it's like referrals. I was always getting the warm introductions.
Okay.
Never cold calling. The beginning was the cold calling, and after that it was just warm introduction. So
just listening to you, I could tell that you perfected your craft in sales, and that is an absolutely critical skill to have. So. You mentioned earlier on that your dad had gone into business, and that in your opinion, you thought it was the wrong decision at the time. How did that influence you on your entrepreneurial journey? We'll come back to your career path. Back to that.
Oh, okay. So both my dad and my mom had full-time jobs, but also hustled.
Okay, so these are like side hustles.
So it's like my mom is a midwife, worked for the local government, and then she still had water, this pure water, the water sachet business.
Okay.
My dad still had this business center and had this whole barbing salon thing.
Okay.
And then but then the decision he had to make that I felt was the wrong one. Was they decided to, because he was working for Xerox then and stuff. So they decided to bring in a German company into Nigeria who was going to rival, not exactly rival Xerox, but then they had a new type of machine that Xerox just didn't have it. And I think that Xerox was not going to make that machine because they didn't think the time was right. But then they felt like they could be the distributors of that. But then there was a reason why Xerox didn't make it. Because the time was not right.
Okay.
So they threw their own capital into it. There were 5 friends. It became a partnership business, and they pretty much set everything up. It was very good. They sold a few in the beginning, but then it's not about how well you start. It's how do you continue. And the continuity became disruptive. They couldn't stay in it for the long run because this is 5 people partnership. Also, I learned from that as well. Everyone's needs, everyone's intentions were very, very different.
That's very key.
So I was learning from that. That's too many people. So that was one. On the other hand, I saw my mom's business. She was slow and steady. She could have been a multi-millionaire in pounds with what she was doing if she had the right capital. Because she was going into, this is what the people want. She doesn't do anything without hearing what people want. So she realized this is what people want, then she go create.
So very market driven, very customer driven.
Exactly. So I think I picked up a whole lot of things from the way the two of them created things. He was very corporate. Everything has to be by this way. She was very tell me what you want, almost very streetwise. Very streetwise. Do you understand? So I have right now I have 2 perspectives, and this is why I keep telling people, wherever you throw me, with the queen, with the
anyway, in the desert you can survive.
Do you get the point? It's I've learned from both ways, and I don't know how I could do it, but I think saying that loud now, I'm actually realizing I think that's where that comes from, because I could really, really survive anywhere.
So then you interestingly moved into becoming a mortgage broker.
So I became.
And that's where you met Jackie, right?
Yes.
Okay. So Jackie's somebody we interviewed previously.
Yes. So what happened was, when I go into people's homes to sell them insurance, they're always saying, okay, so does that cover my house? Would that help pay off my mortgage? And I'm coming from Nigeria. I don't know anything about mortgages. So I'm like, what is mortgage? So then I got pretty much curious about it. And I said, okay, how can I sell? So I went back into the office and I asked them, people keep saying this. They're like, yes, it's going to cover their mortgage. Okay, so what is this mortgage thing? And then I got inquisitive. I'm like, okay, so if people really want this old mortgage, that means there's a market for it. How do I become the person selling this to them? That was the whole point. And then I realized, for you to be able to sell mortgages, you either are a lender or you are a broker. So I decided to become a broker, to do all the exams to become a broker, which was a bit tough for me in the beginning, but then I scaled through. And then after that is then how do you get the license to get FCA, then was FCA, FSA approved, you understand? And I think so then finally I got that. And this was when I then, during that course, that was where I met Jackie, because she was a solicitor on one of the deals, and before you know what's happening, we started to do like a bit of introductions and stuff like that.
Okay. And then at a point, the subprime crisis hit. So you took a strategic decision, and I mean, tell us a bit about that.
Okay, so even before the whole subprime crisis, like I said, I'm someone that is very knowledge driven. Okay. I always like to learn. I always like to, when something is out there. So I was doing my postgraduate diploma with Aston Business School. Okay. I was learning a whole lot, and I felt that there's still so much more I wanted to learn. So I decided to go to Harvard within that period. Okay. And I think it was around that time that the subprime issue left. And then I learned something there that made me see that, I need to take a completely different path now, which was that you needed to build something that was more of, is a painkiller and not just like a vitamin. That something that people just take whenever they feel like, but something they have to take. So and this is where I'm like, and also building something that is more sustainable and not just something that cannot stand the test of time. Okay. So this is where I started to retrace my step. And the next thing I did was, or even before then, I was already doing some things for corporate. But then this is when I then fully made the decision to start to do things for corporate. But while I was doing that, I also wanted to now have a side hustle or build something that was really sustainable. And this is where I went into logistics. So logistics came about in a very funny way. I know, so it's like, why are you moving for what? No, it's like I'm pretty much learning that how to build something sustainable, ask a lot of questions, understand what the real pain is, see if you can solve the pain. Do you have all the full answers? What are you doing today? What are you going to do that is going to change the status quo, and how do you move the needle? Okay. And when I understood that it's very easy to say it now. It wasn't that easy. It happened. Someone always, like the parcel guy will come, and this is parcel for us. They'll always drop something, when you have parcel. And then the person that had my route happens to be someone that I know. Okay. So I was like, hey, okay, do you know what? We're going to talk today. Okay. Because this is me after freshly coming back from Harvard. Okay. My head is, I'm looking for something that can stand the test of time, that can be sustainable, that I can build from the ground up and can just be
something that can be scalable as well.
Scalable. So because if it's going to be sustainable, to be scalable, it will have all of those things. You understand? So, and then I just asked them, okay, how did they find you? I was going into recruitment. Me, I was thinking this is logistics. Do you get the point? So how do they? So I was interested in how the logistics industry worked, but then I saw an opportunity in the recruitment part of logistics. Okay. So he explained to me that when it's the December period and we have all this big increase, traffic, then so they needed contingency workers that will fill in the gap. Okay. And so from there, because and this is like a period from like October to January. Okay. So it could be so high, and so they bring on contract staff to help them. They pay them on a daily rate. But then there's a lingua they speak that I'm like, if you don't know this lingua, I'm too corporate for this lingua. I need to not be corporate and understand the lingua. So I decided to apply for a driver job. So, but before.
This is crazy, right? Tommie, you're actually crazy than I thought.
No, I am crazy. If I want to understand something, I want to understand it completely.
Wow!
So you have to go to the source. So of course.
Did you get a driver job?
I'll get it, but I didn't do it. I just wanted to do the induction and fully understand. Oh, okay. So I know why I was doing it. Yeah. Okay. So the first thing was I drove with him. Okay. For like 2-3 days. Okay. And then I drove behind him. Okay. And just to learn on my own a little bit. Yeah. And then I applied for the job. Okay. He told me about the job. Okay. And then I went in, and of course, everyone was looking at me like strangely, what's this one doing here? Yeah. You understand? Because I'm not going to change myself for anybody. I'm just going to be here. I'm just going there. And then it was always like, okay.
Did you go in your Christian Dior shoes? No, it wasn't Christian Dior then.
I tried to tone it down, but it will still show. But then it was still, I still went with my full makeup, with my hair. Like, okay, is this what I'm really a driver? But then it's like they explain all I needed to hear was just that one day. What is a manifest? What is first in, last out in logistics? How exactly does this thing work? So if I'm sending something to my neighbor, how do you know that I'm sending something to my neighbor? Okay. Do you get the point? Okay. Because it was like, no matter how much you explain it, I needed to hear it from the source. So I asked all those possible questions. I got everything that I needed, and I created my own training program. So the whole point is, okay, I now need, because the people I need to hire, some of them would need to be, some of them might not have done this before, but then they could drive. But if someone can teach them, because there's a gap for a reason, because there's not enough drivers that understand this logic. In order for me to fill that gap, that means like there's an education piece that needs to be done. So I knew all of this going into that room, and all I needed to do was, I'm going to be the person that soaks up this information, and based on that, and package it in a way that, meanwhile, before I left, I already did like adverts everywhere. So I already have people applying for my job that I still do not have any job I want to give to them. I just needed them to keep applying, so I know, okay, these ones are available. Now I know all of that, I now started to look for contracts.
If you're enjoying this episode, I'd like you to hit the subscribe button and hit the bell notification so that you don't miss any future episodes. Wrote down, I'll go day one, but then you have all these the receptionist, they just don't want to see the big boss, as you get there, slam the door in your face, like, sorry, you don't have an appointment, you can go in. I'm like, okay, but I'm here to help. No, we already have, the preferred supplier. I'm like, okay, all right. But then we kept going, and then at some point I wanted to give up. And I remember that last day we had 35 names on the list. We've already done like 34, was just one, but it was off course completely. And I was driving with my husband, and my husband was like, I'm like, please, let's just go home, and maybe I got this wrong. And it's like, you already wrote 35, at least just know in your heart that you've done everything possible. Otherwise, you'll forever feel like, what if? And I'm so glad he pushed me to do that. Because that was it. And I got there right in time. I need to explain how I was dressed so that you can understand why sometimes being yourself is just, I didn't say because I was going to look for logistic contract, I would dress up like a driver so they understand that I can, no. I was wearing my skirt, my shirt, my heels, my back, like I'm going to a typical office, respecting them. This is how it is. But then of course that's not how it's done. And that was what caught the attention. So at the reception, and you're a woman as well.
I'm a woman in a
male dominated industry. So I was at the reception talking to the receptionist, asking about, I need to see the operations manager. She was already saying, oh no, it's busy, As we were talking, he just came down. He was coming down for something else. And then he heard operations manager. And then he looked and said, are you looking for me? And that was it. And then I'm like, oh, are you the operator? Oh yeah, of course I knew his name before coming in because I've done my homework. Research. And then I'm like, oh yeah. Okay. Then he just said, and he just asked, oh, okay, what you guys do? Then we just told him, we supply drivers. We have never supplied anything, but we supply drivers because that's what the company was wanting to do. And then he said, okay, let's go to my office, and the rest is history. So we went. So it was just a matter of we had the moment with the decision maker, and because the homework was done, I knew the pain that he had. And I had the answer to it. Even though I didn't fully have the solution, but I knew what to do to get the solution. And I just needed to sell that to him, and for him to see that, oh, this person can do it. And just give us a try. And if the try works, then this could become something. And that was it. And then it's like, okay, we're going to try you guys with 3 drivers tomorrow. Tomorrow?
At 6:30 a.m.
And you had drivers lined up?
I had nobody. All I had was my advert on Gumtree. And not only that, these drivers need to have their own vans. And insurance and everything.
So what did you do?
So this is you have to be calm. So I said, okay, tomorrow.
You have to be calm, I like that.
So Absolutely, we can. However, it will be best for us to do that for you the next day, because right now we've given a whole of our drivers out.
Yeah.
But then by pretty much the day after, we will have this much people. Yeah. But you said you insisted that you wanted tomorrow. I'm like, okay, yeah, not to worry, we'll bring you 2 tomorrow. And that was it. And I'm like, Tommie, you had better get this 2, otherwise this is.
Don't tell me you drove yourself.
No, I didn't drive myself. So this is what I did. I did one better. So myself, my husband. So we shook their hands like, okay, send all this to the head office. Blah blah blah. We're going to tell. I'm going to send a mail. Everything he said he was going to do, he did.
Okay.
So I need to do my own part. So I went through. This is banging the phone, calling.
Mm-hmm.
I was so lucky. I found this guy, and he was like, okay, yes, he can start the next morning. I've never met him before. Everything, we had to do everything quickly at that night. Send me your this, send me your that, send me all of that. The other person that I found didn't have a van, so I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to go rent Enterprise car van rental. I did that to be my own van rental. He will be an additional person to drive it for that while we figure this out. And so very early in the morning, 6, I was already there. We got that, and that was how those 2 people started.
Wow.
Good thing, they were 2 very, very good people.
Okay.
Before you know what's happening, they increased that number, and they started to tell the other depots, oh, speak to Tommie, speak to Tommie. Before you know what's happening, 1 year down the line, we had almost the entire DPD network in the whole country.
Wow.
And this is how that started. And then we jumped onto CityLink, we jumped onto DHL. DHL, not so much, we did a little bit with them. FedEx, UPS. So we just basically were just going through the whole net, because it's the same thing. Now you have a track record that you could use improving. You
had a solution that you could
speak to this person, will give us a referral.
Okay.
Well, it's just like, oh yeah, we do this for this, we do this for that. Oh, okay. And then you're now name dropping because you know the names. Now I know the lingua.
Okay.
Because the only reason why I was able to close that very first contract was because I spoke in the language.
Okay, the operations manager understood.
Yeah. Oh, then they'll bring the manifest. They'll put it. I was already speaking exactly what I just learned, what I figured out how to package that I could teach, and I just spoke that word to him. And then for everybody that I hired, it was a matter of process has to be something. You're getting at this. It's like it's a real call. It's like you're getting at this time. This is what you need to do. So I followed the step by step of what I was taught and used that for them, and then I kept learning as the thing went on.
Wow, that's amazing. I mean, in that alone, there's so many lessons. That I could go on and on, but just because I'm conscious of the time, because I know you're very busy. That's just amazing. That can you imagine what would have happened if you had gone home after the 34th no? And how
I'll never know, isn't it?
I know. And how many people have failed to live their dreams because they gave up too early. It's just amazing. I mean, this is just so powerful that you just got to keep going.
You have to.
It's almost as if all the no's were preparing you for this.
I feel like that. And it's just. I think in life there's always like times and seasons. And when things happen, you just have to pick it and realize that okay, this happened. It happened for this reason. You take the lessons you want to learn from them, but sometimes you forget, and then sometimes life reminds you again, because this whole thing I had to do this all over again when I started to do pretty much tech, because to do tech at a point I had to say burn the entire bridge. I'm like, burn the boats, I'm on an island by myself and I had to take it out. And that was the mentality you had to take to do that. And there's so many times that people are like, oh, take this job. And I'm like, if I take this job, it will solve this problem I have right now. But if I take this job, I will have called for help and found a boat out of this island. Meaning I'll never get to that desired mansion I want to build on this island. You know what I mean?
I do.
So it's just sometimes it's just that digging deeper. And I think as simple as that sound, like, oh, you have a list of 35, you just need to do one more. Just that resilience to do that one more. And trust me, the resilience didn't come from me. It came from a support system that I had that pushed me to do it. Because left to me that day, I was already giving up. But then that taught me something, and started to build that resilience in my own self that if you said you're going to do this, at least say it true, because you never know.
So Tommie, interestingly, you after this experience, then you moved into digital transformation. Was you doing the digital transformation and doing it on the side?
Yeah.
Oh.
So I had this on the side.
As a side hustle.
As a side hustle.
Wow.
And then I was still doing.
This is crazy. I'm just sitting here in awe, because I'm just trying to process how you think, because you seem to be very driven, a serious go-getter, and nothing seems to phase you.
I think that's it, yeah. So it's like I try to, and so maybe this is not like nothing seems to phase me, but then I still feel nothing seems to phase me. It's all about, do I really, really want it? Is that once I'm true to myself, that I really, really want something, then I know that what is the price you have to pay. There's a price. And that price, am I willing to pay that price? Now, I'm not willing to pay so many prices right now. So I'm like, I'm ready to take some things very, very easy.
Okay.
But then, it was, and not to say that the fire is not there. It's just
I was going to ask her. So now, are you more satisfied?
No, it's because I now have a vision.
Okay.
So before I'm chasing after, I want to do this because people want something. Now I know what I actually want for myself. Like, what impact?
The vision is clear.
Very clear.
Okay.
What impact do Tommie really, really want? What really, really angers me that I want to fix?
Okay.
And that is everything I do right now is only on that.
Okay. So is that what kind of led you into tech? Because tech is very male dominated. I don't know many people of color who are CEOs of tech companies, and you have not just entered into a tech company. You actually are the cutting edge of AI, using AI in your business. I mean, what was the thinking behind that?
Okay, so for that one, this is where when they tell you that you have to learn, you have to become an apprentice, you have to do internship, you have to learn to actually see how some things work. And if you see the journey that I've been describing to you, I'm someone that likes to learn. Then I understand how things work. Then I go do it. Do you get the point?
Yeah.
It's the same thing that happened here.
Oh.
So it's all a matter of me. If you notice that business analysis is all about you understanding what your client wants and understanding how to get to the solution, being a conduit in arriving at the solution. So all the while that I've been doing business, I've actually been doing business analysis without even knowing. So it came to me very naturally.
Okay.
But then getting into tech or doing digital transformation, I stumbled on it. So the way I stumbled on that was one of my very first contracts was actually was for Centrica, British Gas.
Okay.
And we needed to do something that has to do with data. It was very, very short, but then I took some things from that. I realized that, I like all this data. I like all this digital transformation project. But where it really changed was when I did something for Barclays.
Oh,
So I was contracting.
Okay.
And we're working on this very, very cool multiple projects. Then this is where Barclays was setting itself up. Barclays is a very, very good thinker, setting itself up as a cutting-edge digital banking. Even before a whole lot of people started to catch up to that. And so they were thinking all around, Barclays Ping Gates. There was the PMS project. There were quite a number of things, and I got involved in that. So I got accepted into one of the roles as a business analyst.
Okay.
And then I just saw how they were doing multiple work streams of multiple projects within it. And the one that really, really pretty much that I really, really loved was the Ping Gates. And the fact that you could see how the effect of that was on people. That now people can now take a phone number and can send a text message, and using that phone number you could use that in making payments without saying you pay this, you pay that. And right now that is easy to do because there are so many ways you can now do that, even on the cash machine, on the POS itself. But just fast forward 13 years ago.
Yeah,
that was very
very
fresh.
revolutionary. Yeah,
exactly. So that was very, very fresh. So for me, and I saw how that impacted the company in itself, in its own thinking, and not just that, the other things that was being done within that really, really fascinated me. But I never knew I was already doing tech. So let me explain what I mean by that. Remember I talked about the logistic company. I still had the logistic company.
Okay.
I had my my brother, who was then helping to create like I just told him what I wanted, being an analyst. I just said, okay, I want a way in which these drivers, whenever they work, they can raise an invoice in our platform. They can I can see where they've worked, and then I can put like a tutorial together and put all of that we can just come in and watch it at once. And quickly, I just saw that I didn't know that platform in itself was an edutech platform. It was pretty much a fintech platform, but I was making payment through all of that. But as far as I was concerned, I was just basically calling that a website that was allowing people to do all of those things. But when I now saw how deep we took it with Barclays, I saw that, okay, this is where we can actually build something transformational. And that was when I decided to build the logistic application, mobile application that allows, and that was the beginning of the whole first
journey into tech.
Journey into software in itself.
Okay. So was it like a very steep learning curve for you?
Oh yeah. It was like you have, because in as much as you've done it for large organizations, they have the budget, but then you don't have that much budget, and then you need to still find a way to do it. Having to actually hire people was very tough, because you find some good people and they're only good for a while, then there's somebody just basically shines some nice carrots in their faces, and then they're gone, and then you need someone else to pick up that project. It was quite difficult to do that, so I had to learn a whole lot from that. It took longer than expected in creating that application out, but then I felt like at some point something major happened that did not allow that application really get to the fullest of where it's meant to, in terms of having the mobile app for all the people to be able to download and do all of that, which was called multi-droppers. I quickly realized one of our customers then, and this is another lesson that I learned in business, you don't allow one person or a few companies be your main source of income. So we basically put in almost all our eggs into CityLinks. When I mean all our eggs, I mean all the driver contract as at 2015 was through CityLink. I think it was 2014. And then Christmas 2014, I can remember very well because I was pregnant. I just saw on BBC that they've gone bankrupt. That we had almost over 200,000 worth of invoices unpaid. Wow. And so that basically affected the business. And that started to make, and then the next year I had Amazon Flex is coming out. I started to have cold feet, all of that, and with that couldn't really get to where it needed to get to. I went back into doing. I was still all along. I never stopped. I was still contracting. Worked on another amazing project with Hiscox, which I absolutely loved. And
Hiscox insurance.
Yes, insurance. Which I absolutely loved, enjoyed working on that. They even got awards on that as well. So that opened my eyes into some other aspects of things. And in 2018, I just said enough is enough. And I felt like I just can't do this whole contracting anymore. My passion is pretty much in being an entrepreneur. I've always tried to do that, but then it will never be able to stand the test of time and really become what it can be if I don't give it my full attention. So I decided to burn the boats, and that was the phrase I used then. So that's it. There's no more, because it's always like you're on an island, but then you have this safety boat. If anything happens, I just get on my safety boat. But then when you burn the boats, that's it. That's it. And it was quite tough. I feel like it was really, really tough doing that. So I burned that to create Eventbrite.
Okay.
And this was a software that was a marketplace, but then you also had it was like a two-in-one. You also had a corporate application where people could do events on it. Where I don't know, I'm trying to describe, where you could actually see all the events that you're going to have and watch the sessions that are going on and stuff like that. And we actually got like the African Union to use it. We had we got the Ghanaian president was on there, and so it was pretty good and decent and stuff. And so that did well, but I felt like it needed like venture backing.
Yeah.
But I didn't understand anything venture, because everything I've been saying, everything I've done, I've always done out of pocket. So I'm like, after doing almost, I can't remember now, it was almost 100 or so events on it. And I saw how much we made. I'm like, oh God, this is not going to sustain this girl's lifestyle. We need something more.
Something more.
So I decided that, okay, we're going to come back on it. Let us, and he did well. He got awards. It was pretty much, we built out something truly interesting. And I decided, okay, let's go build software for other people. We know how to build software. Okay. Let's build software for other people. Okay. And let us, once we're able to make enough money, we then come back and build Eventbrite the way we want to build it. Okay. Because right now, we're building, but we don't have any money coming in. Okay. And then it's just like, it's not going to be, we still need a whole lot more money to finish this build before we can start making major revenue. Okay. So that was how TEDbrite was born.
Oh, okay.
And so we started to like build out software for people. We started a website. We started to do, then before it happened, we started to build mobile applications. Okay. Then we got our very first what's it called, $1 billion company that we built an enterprise solution for. And we knew that, okay, yeah, we could do this, and we just started to build that out. And then looking back at Eventbrite, when we now wanted to look at it again in 2020, it was already too late, because there were people like Hopin, who was now $1 billion company, has already jumped on it, and they've done very, very well with it. Okay. Trying to fight that was going to be very difficult. But then we made it be really, really successful in itself. Okay. And this is where we started to say it got successful to the extent that we pretty much grew that into over 7 figures in revenue. Okay. And it's then, how do we keep building this? People are coming in that they want to do this, they want to do that, but then we don't have enough talent to be able to help them do that. So that was where I went on a quest of, how can I build like a talent factory? Okay. And a way in which we could constantly have talents coming in. Okay. And we're teaching them exactly how the process works. I was very, very good. I'm very, very good with processes. Okay. This is how the process works. You just need to follow on this process, and you're going to get this result. Okay. Do you understand? Okay. So you bring in people. Okay, this one is at this stage. Okay, I mean, this one might need A, B, C before they go into step 1. This one is already at step 1. Okay, then you can just go in through this sort of workflow. Okay. And that was kind of how we created this edutech platform. So the initial thing for Tech 1M was to accelerate the first 1 million tech talent.
Oh, okay. And that's where the name comes from. Okay.
That was where the name came from. Okay. And later on, we realized that as giving them the education to do that, we gave out like 1,000 scholarships in different, we created like boot camps and stuff like that, and gave out 1,000 scholarships for people to learn tech, front end, back end, digital marketing, all of that. And I saw that, people were getting hired based on this. So we felt like, okay, do you know what, just giving them those skills is not good enough. You need to give them a way in which they can actually get hired. Okay. I felt like the answer was, okay, we find you someone, you give us money, but quickly I realized that you're putting your customer at the end of the sales cycle. Okay. And Google made me realize that after applying for one of their funds, I'm like, And that led us into, do you know what? What exactly is wrong with this hiring process? How can they figure out the definition of a quality candidate? And this led us to where we are right now. So this is how we got into Tech 1M as a software, not as a service, but as a full software, where it's now basically we're using AI, created this as an enterprise software that can then power the hiring industry. So it allows them to evaluate candidates, to attract them, and to also then hire those candidates. But when you hire this candidate, if they are in countries that, if they're contractors in a country and you don't even know how do you pay them in that country, how do you expect somebody in Ghana to get Ghanaian cedis? Do you know how to send that? So we also then decided to solve the problem of payments.
On the same platform.
On the same platform.
Okay. Wow, that's pretty amazing. That is phenomenal. So in this industry that you find yourself in, it's obviously a very fast-paced industry. How do you cope with the competition for quality talent?
Okay, so the way I see this is that there are some things that we cannot do without.
Okay.
We can't do without food. We need money to buy the food.
Okay.
To get the money, you need to have a job.
Okay.
So basically, that is why if we have 8 billion or 7 billion people in this world, there's a working age and everybody has to have a source of way to get. So what am I saying? It is a blue ocean market, meaning that it's so big that one person cannot solve it.
Okay.
So in that case, there's bound to be competition.
Okay.
And then in that case, having a tiny slice of it, it's even so big on its own. Okay. You understand?
Okay.
But then that being said, you're saying what is our moat, what is our differentiation factor? And this is where we've actually really looked at it and said that it's not good enough that I'm just finding jobs based on, I'm saying I want a job in London, it has to be a product manager and it's paying this amount of salary. That's not good enough in 2023. How about I want to find a job that values sustainability, that climate, that values this organization's mission, actually works with diversity and inclusion, fully understand that there is a risk to the climate and is doing something about it. So almost like matching not just the things that I want on my competencies, but also things that I want that I might not be, my values, I might not be able to say out loud, but figuring out a way in which that we can do this. And in order to do that, we have to use video.
Okay.
So this is where every application that is created, basically you get videos, we take those videos, we're able to then use that to come up with like sentiment analysis that allows the hiring manager make better decisions. We're able to use the algorithm so I feel like our algorithm, which is constantly learning, is one of the things that makes us strong, but also the fact that we understand the value of not just attracting the candidates that you already know, but also attracting candidates that you don't know about, and using what is driving 2023, what is driving Gen Z, which is the community, using the power of influencers to actually get you and attract those candidates for you. And those are kind of like thinking outside the box in those sort of ways are things that we feel like makes the Quantum stand out. So easily you can attract your candidates quick enough. You can evaluate them to see if they're great quality, and then you can have them as within your trusted talent pool, so that next time you want to hire, let's say, a customer service person, you don't even need to put up a job anymore. You can just go into the AI and ask Amy and say, Amy, within my talent pool, show me the people that have up to 5 years experience in this and that, and it basically tells you. You can then pinpoint somebody and say, oh, is Tommie a great facilitator? Tells you Tommie facilitated at UBS for 3 years, did facilitation in here, and then it starts to give you an in-depth understanding of the candidates better than what we have right now.
So who's your ideal customer? So somebody watching us now, is it like recruiters and corporates, or is it like people on the streets, job blocks? It sounds like it's recruiters and companies.
Yeah, so it's recruiters and companies, but we play very, very well within the SMB phase of things. Because I feel like there's a whole lot of software out there that is playing towards a lot of enterprise, but I feel our software plays a whole lot more within the SMB space. Now we are going to play within the enterprise space, but we feel like for the first point of call at the 7 million SMBs in the UK. who definitely need like a career page where people can understand that these are the active jobs they have, where they can receive every application as a video application and start to have a very, very good talent pool for the organization, so they can easily find the talents that they need very, very quickly and evaluate them faster.
Okay, fantastic. As we prepare to wrap up this conversation, I know you also recently led the UK G20 Young Entrepreneurs Alliance delegation to India. Actually, when we spoke, I was in the US at the time, I think, and you were. I was in the US. I was in the US at the time, and you were. We chatted when you were in Delhi. Was it Delhi or?
Yeah, it was
Delhi. Yeah. So, I mean, how did you become affiliated with that? I mean, how did you become recognized in that space? And become the head of that.
Okay, so I've been so that's interesting. So I've been a UK delegate. I think my very first one was in Argentina, 2018.
Okay.
So this was through the IOD. I said then Alex Mitchell was the president for the UK G20 YEA.
Okay.
And then there was an application, and I don't know, it was sent to me. And then I applied, then I got in, and then got selected, and I decided to go. So then they said they just basically pick entrepreneurs that they know that are formidable in the UK to be able to represent.
Okay.
So I was very, very happy being a UK delegate, and that exposed me to the international world and how you see pretty much all the G20 member states and see all the 800 entrepreneurs gathered in one same room.
Wow. And
you are having conversation. That blew my mind. And then every year I kept being asked to do it again, and I kept going back. And then something happened in 2022. The president couldn't make it. And then someone had to step in, and I was expecting everyone to call a different name, and everyone unanimously just said Tommie. And I'm like, okay, seriously? Okay. Remember? So I'm like, okay, I will go. So I was like an interim. And I signed on his behalf because we come up with this communique that we send to the Prime Minister when we get back. So I signed that on his behalf. And then January this year, he just said, okay, pretty much he's gotten great feedback and blah, blah, blah. And he feels like with what we're doing, Tommie is the best person to lead. So that's how I became the president in 2023 and led my very, very first delegation to India, which was 14 amazing and ambitious entrepreneurs in the UK. And I'll be doing the same thing for Brazil next year.
Oh, that's amazing. Maybe I should come with you to Brazil.
We'll see.
Anyway, as we wrap up this conversation, Tommie, what inspires you? Before I used to ask the question, what motivates you? But I've been told that that's a wrong question. So what inspires you? What gets you out of bed in the morning?
I feel like, so what gets me out of bed is that and this might sound spiritual, but this is me understanding that I've been placed in this head for a purpose. And I just feel like it would be an injustice if I don't serve that purpose. And until I know that there is no more fire in me to give, I'll keep going. So for me, that is what drives me. And then I also of course, when you then have a company that has, right now in February we have like 45 staff, Teponem has 11 staff. It's like you have people that are dependent on you, and people dependent on the people that are depending on you, and the cycle goes on and on and on. And I feel like it is my responsibility to be able to lead and lead by example. So that gets me out of bed, because I know that if I don't get up to do the things that I know that I want to do, and the passion that I have, that makes because for me the most important thing is that I feel like anyone, regardless of their talent, regardless of who you are, your background, your sexual orientation, your religion, your race, whatever, if you have a right skill, you've developed a particular talent, and you want to be able to make an impact, then you should be given the opportunity to do so. But how will those opportunities arise if I don't create Teponem, or someone else does not stand up to be bold enough to say that they want to create something that actually gives those sort of opportunities? So that is enough to get me out of bed, because if I don't do what I have to do, then it doesn't survive. And if it doesn't survive, that is someone that I've let down, even though the person did not even know that I let them down. But I would always know that I didn't push enough. So that is there. Also, I have kids. I see
How many
them.
you got?
I've got two.
Two, yeah, boy and girl.
Yeah, boy and a girl.
Yeah.
So I see their eyes light up. I see them going to conversation. I'll even tell you that when we go out and they see like an advert for maybe like a job. And I remember we saw Total Jobs the other day. They're like, don't hire there. Go to Tech One. And I'm like, okay, it's not that heavy. But then and this is me without telling them this is what Tech One does. They've picked it up. They've seen it. They've asked questions. They try to understand. And I've seen how this has changed the way my daughter believes in herself.
Okay.
And if I'm not able to even touch anyone outside, the fact that I'm able to touch people directly, it's amazing. So those are things that gets me up. Those are things that allows me to know that I absolutely have to. And if I feel like if God has set me on this earth for a reason, then it would be like, when I go back to him, how exactly did you do? I don't want to come up with excuses. I need to get that A+.
Fantastic. Tommie, what do you think of this podcast and what we're trying to do?
I think what you're trying to do, I think this is very noble, and what you're trying to do is interesting. I feel like it's always good for people to hear more voices, and like I said before in a podcast or to someone, there was this book by oh God, how can I remember the name now? There was this book called
it's about a woman.
Yeah.
It's about 500 women or something.
Yeah. So it's like the 50. Oh God.
I can't remember the
title. Voices in the Shadow.
Voices in the Shadow.
That's what it's called. Yeah. And I was featured in the Voices in the Shadow among all the 50 women in there, and it was quite interesting about how impactful that day, because for me I was just like, okay, it's just normal, but then when I saw the impact of that, it makes what you're doing makes absolutely sense. Let me put that into context. So it's a matter of, I was featured in that book, and I took my kids were on holiday, so I took them to the lunch of it.
Because you didn't have childcare.
Yeah. That was why.
I've done my research.
And I'm like, all right, you might as well come see what it's all about. And they were a bit shy. They were seeing all this. Yes, these are all black women in tech doing amazing things, just like mommy. Oh wow, I think it was just you. I'm like, no, there's a whole lot of them. So the representation. And then my daughter got the book. She said, I won one of the book I bought for her. She took it to school, and she just kept talking about it. Then they kept passing it on, and then people in our class will read the book. Someone else I had to give the school extra copies. And what this does is that for young girls, especially coming up, they don't see enough representation. And what you're doing is showing them that it is possible. And yes, even though someone will say it is possible, but then when you're looking at the people that are saying that it's possible, they don't look like you.
That's
but
true.
when they look like you, it resonates. And that's why you can't stop what you're doing, because I feel like it is very, very powerful. Someone is going to hear it, someone is going to see. You might not have a very large audience now, but before you know what's happening, it is blow up. And that's it. It's all about consistency. And you, so it's just that resilience to continue, because I know it's not easy as well for you to do all of these things. So
every week we come out.
It's crazy. But then you know why you're doing it, and I can tell that even kids that are unborn will get to see this and stumble on this someday and actually make them believe in themselves. So thank you so much for having me on this show.
Tommie, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Tommie, before we go, I'd also like to say a very big thank you to Sir Sam Jonah, who is the chairman of Jonah Capital. He's somebody who is my mentor, who's been very supportive of what we're doing. So Sir Sam, this is for you. And if you've enjoyed this conversation with Tommie, which I've thoroughly enjoyed it, and I think we need to do a second one, because there are lots of questions I didn't ask you. There's a lot more, and I'm just conscious of the time. Because I was going to ask you about belief systems, I was going to ask you about mindset. There's a lot more, and actually we might bring you back for a masterclass, which is like a paid masterclass where you will just talk. I'm not going to talk at all. But then there's a lot more in you, listening to you, that I think we haven't captured in this time that we've been together. So I know you're really busy, but we'll schedule something for the next 5-6 months or whatever it is, depending on the schedule.
Please. I love the course of what you're doing.
There's a lot that I think you have, and I don't feel that we've done justice to this. So I'll humbly ask in front of my audience. I'm putting you on the spot here.
But that's fine.
I'll humbly ask that you come again so that I can ask you some more questions that I didn't get to ask this time round.
Yeah, that would be my pleasure.
Okay, but if you enjoyed this video, I'd like you to do a couple of things for me. I'd like you to subscribe. Very important. Our subscriptions are going up, really going up, which is not easy. I'll tell you that, it's not easy. But I'd like you to subscribe. I'd like you to like this video. I also like you to comment. And if you have any questions for Tommie or for any of our guests, please leave them in the comment section below. We'll also have some links to Tommie's LinkedIn profile and her business, and all, so that you can get in touch with her if you need the Tech 1M service. And I think what she's doing is fantastic. Let's support what she's doing, and let's together build a solid platform. And Tommie, thank you very much for coming on Against All Odds.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.